Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel and happy Wednesday to you. You're watching TechStrong Gang. We've got a lot to talk about today, leading off with some AI insecurity or AI bug found in Microsoft Copilot. Let's throw the babies out with the bathwater. I've got more than that to talk to you about though, but We've got a new gang member to introduce you to, and we've got a great couple of folks here to talk about all of these things with us. Let's just start off with the new guy. I want to introduce you to Evgeniy Kharam. Evgeniy, how are you? And welcome to TechStrong Gang.
Thank you. Happy to be here today.
So, Evgeniy, for people who aren't familiar, well, I'm sure most of our audience already knows you, but I'm kidding. Give people a little background.
The quick one. So I've been around cyber for quite a long time. Started my career in the Navy, in Israel Navy. Spent 2 years in Checkpoint. Spent a lot of time in a company called Horjove Group in Canada, one of the first big MSSPs in security. Left the company as a VP of architecture. For the last 3 years, I've been consulting to VARs, MSSPs, and vendors. Wrote a book, have a small conference called Security Architecture. Ski and Snowboard Conference, and have a podcast as well with my friend Dimitri called Security Architecture Podcast. And recently I joined a company called Insecurity as Chief Strategy Officer.
Love it. Thank you and welcome. Welcome to the gang. So we now have 2 Canadians and 2 U.S. folks here on the show today. Hey, that's good. It's good by me.
Right, I'm the American in Canada this time. When I'm in the States, everybody thinks I'm the Canadian there. But, it is a small world thing because Evgeniy, Dimitri, is the CTO at Cybeats that I was advising and I've been VP of strategy with for a long time. So the small world thing in our community just never ends.
Yeah, good. Hey, man, I'm all for it. All good. Of course, the one and only Chris Blask. Chris, how are you?
Honestly, I couldn't be better. As you've picked up, and as we talked about in the green room, the civic AI canon, right, that has developed in recent weeks and has become the center of my focus, and talking to folks that are interesting on this topic and maybe seeing some clarity even on the topics on today's list. So I'm feeling pretty saucy.
Oh, I love it when you're saucy. All righty. Now up to the man in green plaid. I thought he'd be wearing black here. In mourning for his Yankees, our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard.
It feels like they're on vacation, at least when it comes to hitting. Pitching's doing great, though, so I don't know.
Pitching's great. Yeah, they just got to get it together. Anyway, hey, guys, let's turn to what we're talking about today. Our A block, Mike, is, heaven forbid they found a flaw in Microsoft Copilot. We got to shut down this whole AI thing. It's just too dangerous.
I don't think we're talking about shutting down AI, and I don't think that's in anybody's mind as a result. But I'd love to get Evgeniy's opinion on the following. Is cybersecurity and AI having a moment finally where it seems like there's a ton of research being done on the space? There's more effort. Every time I wake up, somebody's got some sort of paper or something on the topic. And are we kind of putting the right level of attention to an emerging technology finally, or are we still playing a little catch up?
It's both. As everything in technology, we develop something cool and then we realize how to secure it. If you go in history, DNS, HTTP, email, everything was created to send information and for basically flexibility. And then we realize there's a problem and how we can attack it and how we can use it for bad. With AI, very quickly, people start to realize how they can use ChatGPT and others for bad as well. So definitely when we create technologies that are helping us, like Copilot, we'll find how we can use it for the evil part as well. We are catching up. It's always going to be a race. It's always going to be something new in the space. We're probably going to talk about MCP servers later on and some of the issues there. So right now we are in the catch and mouse Tom and Jerry situation where people trying to understand what we have new, what are the vulnerabilities, what are the potential issues. The one that you described with Microsoft is quite interesting. For the people that in the audience, it's already patched. So not a problem. I think it was patched end of May, I believe so. But the problem there is quite interesting because the Copilot can now send information out And we're kind of coming back to the basics. We're coming back to network security. Is our basic things working well? Because we jump into AI, we jump into the sexy things, but are we doing the basic as network security defined? Can we do DLP, data leakage prevention, better? Can we categorize the traffic better? Do we know our assets? So while we jump into the cool stuff, there's still quite a lot of things we can do in the basics.
Absolutely.
idea. I couldn't agree more, right? And like you said, and we should, and being a security person through all this, and thinking about this, pardon me, inevitability curve sort of thing. Like we're going down these paths. We always do. We can do these things, so we do. And we don't always think about not just security, but all these other things that if it doesn't matter, we'll figure out maybe if it does someday, but when it does matter, we'll finally get to it. And you couldn't get into a better use case than this one because it's ironic on all sorts of levels, but right, how we got to AI that we can really call AI, like sci-fi said, even your standard little chat, you can talk to it and it gives a really good example of being a person-ish, right? So we start assigning things and Copilot's a perfect example. If you have the GitHub app on your phone, that little question bar is a Copilot instance that is a persona assigned as librarian for GitHub, the largest code repo in the world, I think, right? And if you act with it like a computer and say, do these things and so forth, it'll do computer things. But the AI we built, large language models, it didn't have to happen this way, but it's built on words. And the problems we're having and the symptoms we're getting is hallucinations and everything else. You think about it from that perspective, not digital, but semantic. And you get these weirdnesses. So that Copilot and this risk is a perfect example of where we need to go with this. Yeah, because RAG, feed it in, it'll come out. Where'd it come from? Nobody knows. That can't be how things work. And there are instances showing up now. They're showing us how we get around this. But again, whether you think about it as AIs, as persons, personas, whatever, just realize they're made out of words, and it starts to make a lot of sense. They're not numbers.
Yep. So I've got some thoughts. I've got some good news. Let me bring the good news today. Number one, as Evgeniy pointed out, this was a responsible disclosure type of bug that was found, and by the time it was made public, it was already patched. Not to say that some bad guys hadn't exploited it in the wild before the patch was available or before a security researcher found this or, did the responsible disclosure. But as we sit here today, it is patched. It's another backdoor closed. Secondly, for the people who are running that the sky is falling and this illustrates the risk of AI agents and rags and all that, you know what? This is technology. This is technology. Show me one technology that we've used in my lifetime where there wasn't some sort of bug or vulnerability or backdoor or something, that came out that was fixed, right? This is the nature of computers. It's the nature of computer code. We go as fast as we can chasing the dream. Security is not always top of mind. Even when it is, you could still have bugs and vulnerabilities, unbeknownst, and it gets through testing. This is par for the course. This is fully expected. There's nothing unexpected here. That you expect these things to happen. It's full speed ahead.
Evgeniy, do you think that the risks are a little higher this time out? Because you mentioned MCP servers and we have AI agents now, and those things take over. If I hack into that, I can take over an entire process. And Jamie Dimon last week was on a conference over at Databricks, and he was talking about how they're seeing AI agents used to attack them at the bank that he's the CEO of. And he said it's downright scary. And his mindset was this was different. Fair?
Here's the angle I'm thinking about the AI agents and AI in general. Is not the capabilities only, is the speed. Because from what I understand and I know, AI agents can be much faster than us by 100, 1,000, 10,000. So the problem I see is if an AI agent or a code or anything I'm doing with AI going sideways, how fast I'll find the problem, what I need to do to actually contain the problem, and what's going to damage going to be done for this, not probably seconds, I hope minutes on hours, we'll be doing this. Simple example actually from my friend Helen Oakley. She was presenting about what if we have an AI agent that helping us with some kind of calculation and accounting and potentially can move money. So if you're doing a mistake, even by 1 cent, and repeating the mistake 1,000 times, in a couple of minutes, we can lose a lot of money. So if an AI agent going to attack someone by mistake or not by mistake, and it's going to go wild, how much damage it will do just because it's so fast and can operate so quickly. So the check and balancing that we need to do in our workflow become much more important. And the other things, if we have an AI agent that's doing an important part in our company, and then we find a flaw, can we shut it down? Or we are relying on this AI agent so much. Let's have a chatbot, for example, and the chatbot suddenly is replying with the stuff we didn't expect it to reply. Can we shut it down? Because you have thousands of people now using this AI. So we need to figure out, can we shut it down? Can we run it to a previous version? Can we put in different AI agent, like a high availability, while we fix this one?
I think, and we get to this point, and Alan, you said it, do you not expect this? I mean, have we not read our own stories? And yes, speculative fiction is fiction, but we all think about the future and it comes along and we're living in it. We're literally in different parts of the world, talk to each other. Evgeniy, I've known you for a long time. I think you're here in Canada with me. Yeah, yeah. So I didn't even know that, because this is when I was a kid, the week, I went to Disney World the second time and Space Mountain was opening. Went up that long escalator in the world of the future. That's today. We're doing that. All those figures sitting there talking to each other, making plans today. And, AIs, and again, let's not get philosophical about it, get practical. Will we make systems that effectively act like people when we need to treat like people? Yes, we will. Are we there now? Yes, we are. What path are we on? They're getting slower or faster, less complicated, more complicated. We are not going to, we all know the answer. So in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, we're going to keep going on this path. And what do we have to do? And the reality is that any human being born today, anywhere in the world, anywhere, could, as history and current events tell us, change the fate of the world. And that's just the world we all live in. And maybe I would argue that we need to at least philosophically and technically work back from the premise that this is what we're talking about, that we're talking about other agentive personas, people, moving through our environment, as Evgeniy was saying, playing roles in our company. That's not just a server, but it's a function. How do we replace the CTO or that key person? And if we don't think about it that way, then we're not likely to come up with any very good answers.
I would put forth the proposition, though, that, when the first cloud vulnerabilities came out, there was someone sitting on it. Well, they probably weren't sitting on a video show like this, but there was someone writing an article that said the stakes have never been higher because there's so many assets on that one cloud, right? There's multiple people's intellectual property there. And so we can't afford to have a bug in the cloud. And when the internet first came out, there was someone on the well or something, on a bulletin board saying, "Oh my God, this thing could spread around the world. It could bring the whole world down if we have a bug, based on TCP/IP or something like that." Right? It's the same thing. Are the stakes higher? I don't know. The stakes, it always seems that we're on the precipice of disaster or glory with the latest, greatest innovation, right? That's going to change human civilization. It's just a bug in software.
So I would point out that at least half of all workloads are not running in the cloud, largely because of security concerns. And I guess I'm as I look at this, I just wonder if we're able to actually learn from history. To Chris's point, so Evgeny, can we look at anything that we've done in the past and maybe do something different, or are we just condemned to having history repeat itself?
We talk about security by design for a long time. So we're definitely looking on the past, and some of us thinking about it. So I've been advising quite a lot to different startups. And in a perfect world, we'll tell a startup, before you come with a great idea, you need to make sure everything is patched. You have all the endpoints. You make sure you have all the SaaS DaaS for your application, and you do secure development. But in reality, we know if they're going to spend so much time on this, they're not going to have any product. So it's a chicken and an egg. They need to develop something first. But then, ideally, we're going to have insert points. Okay, you reach to this point. Now it's time to introduce these controls. You get to the next level. Now it's time to do that. And it will be depend on the people priorities and the feedback they get. Some of them will be secure right away as much as possible. Some of them will go wild until somebody gonna push them with a hammer on the head and say, what are you doing? Where's my SOC 2 compliance? Or what are you doing there? There is a lot of maturity right now. All the startups, not in security, in other parts they're talking right now, they already understand that in one point they'll need to introduce security. The question is, how early will they do it? So we are learning from what we're doing. The question is, who will apply, who will understand that they need to be responsible on what they're doing and on the software, and they're the babies they're putting in the world.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. If we don't have anything else on this one, let's take a break here at TechStrong Gang, and let's come back and talk about an AI layoff tracker. Is this what this has come to? You're watching TechStrong Gang.